Well, lads, I've got a whole new paradigm for you. Let me ask you, do you like Tex-Mex?
Text-Mex?
Do you like Tex-Mex?
Text-Mex?
Text-Mex?
Tex-Mex?
Do you like Tex-Mex?
Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
Text-Mex?
Yeah,
You
sure, I like
Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex.
Yeah, you're right. You like Tex-Mex. Everyone likes Tex-Mex. Do you like Chex-Mix?
Yes, I do.
Yes, of course. Everyone loves Chex-Mix.
Of course.
Yeah, who
Here
doesn't
it
love
is.
Tex-Mex?
Here we
Yeah,
go.
well,
Here we go.
combine them. It's Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix. Do you have your Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix?
Okay.
So I guess if you have a food kink and you're having sex while you're eating Chex-Mix, Tex-Mex,
Yeah, Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix.
sex.
You have sex, Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix?
Okay.
You have Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix, Tex-Mix? You're not buying Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing from the focus group?
I'm not
is that
buying
you're not
that.
buying Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix?
No, it's too. Yeah. It's not cool.
Well, I guess we can fucking abandon Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix. I guess that's all she wrote on Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix.
It
Thanks.
sucks.
Thanks, fellas. Hey, we're here. It's House of Decline. We have Steven and special wrestling and internet art correspondent Steve is here
Hello.
today. We're discussing my terrible product ideas, including Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix. I just wanted to get that out there, Just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, I can't say I get it. I don't know if I would buy that.
It would have the delicious flavors of the Southwest, and it's deliriously fun to say. It's Tex-Mex, Chex-Mix, God damn it.
I see.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Well, glad to be on the podcast.
Thank you.
Are you saying Chex Mix or Chex Mex?
It's Chex-Mex. It's Tex-Mex, Chex-Mex.
Chex Mex?
Yeah.
What's the second Mex?
I guess Chex-Mex is just Border Patrol. ICE is just Chex-Mex.
So it's Texas, Mexico, Chex, Mexico.
You're Oh man, have you been the big conspiracy thing to happen this week was Wayfair. How y'all up on the Wayfair scandal thing?
I thought it was
It's
great.
not really a scandal.
I thought it was great. It was super, super interesting. I'm a little disappointed though that none of the people I know are buying into it because I'm part of.
What is the Wayfair scandal, Steve?
What
Tell
is
us
the
about
Wayfair scandal? Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked. So I actually didn't even know what Wayfair was before any of this conspiracy theory shit started. So I guess in some ways it's been good marketing for them. But,
absolutely.
So I guess it's like Wayfair is, for everyone that doesn't know, is like me, it's one of these online retailer stores. So it's like sort of like Amazon where they're selling.
So you can
furniture.
buy something online?
Yeah, so you could buy like furniture online. Well,
Yeah, I don't
You
know
can do
about
an
that.
e-commerce?
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I guess what happened is either through price gouging government agencies or through some weird like money laundering scam, some of those pieces of furniture like cabinets ended up being like $12,000 or $13,000 and just like these insane prices. So one of these QAnon baker idiots came to the very logical conclusion that, what they're doing here is they're advertising child trafficking sex rings.
Right,
And
because the furniture,
what
the expensive furniture was named like Madeline and like Little Lulu or something like that, the names of missing children.
Yeah, so I think it was partially that, and also, and this sounds really weird until you look into it for 5 minutes, but I guess if you take the SKU of the piece of furniture and you Google it on like this Russian search engine with like the prefix SRC, then you just get a bunch of child porn. But
Great. Who's the guy?
Well, yeah.
Who had that foreknowledge? Was this just a guy who was accessing child porn who, like, he's like the Dexter of child pornography, where it's like, I love child porn, but I capture child pornographs using my love of child porn?
That's a good question in general, and I don't really understand it because I guess the 8kun, which kind of hosts all the Q drops, is also like a mecca for animated child porn. So I don't really understand like what sort of cognitive dissonance the Q people are under.
I think it's because the animated child porn in their mind is better because it's not real. It's basically just them, you know. It's a bunch of Q guys, you know, drawing nice comics for each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I was under the impression that they're two different communities, but they just like they're on there and they just don't see it as bad because 8kun is just like this platform for free speech where they can say whatever they want, and that's where all the true patriots hang out.
You know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not It's certainly not Parler. That site is taking. I love how all of like the alternate sites, the alternate fascist sites, like remember Vote, the alternative fascist equivalent to Reddit?
Yeah.
And how it just immediately tanked?
It's hard.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, well, it's hard to come up with a clone of a social media website unless there's a mass evacuation happening, like when Dig moved to Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Or when Myspace moved to Facebook. It's rare. It's like a new form of natural event that occurs in the world, like a natural disaster. You can't predict when it's going to happen. There's always these outgrowths, like new potential places to go. It's
the black swan events of popular social media.
Well, it's like an anthropological and sociological. So you could study it and probably try to find patterns in when it happens.
I mean, you can retroactively dissect why a social media paradigm shifts. Like, why did people go from MySpace to Facebook? Was it just because Facebook's... I think it just came down to UI. Facebook had better UI.
I think it was partially UI. I actually kind of missed the fact that on MySpace you could actually just edit the HTML, so each page looked different, whereas Facebook is just this whitewashed... everyone's the same type of
conformity. That is Zuckerberg's world. It is the mind of Zuck.
I mean, I guess like
the mind of Zuck.
I guess the big reason though is like everyone always says that with Facebook, you had more of a privacy element to it, where like, oh, only my friends can see all these embarrassing things that I posted as a teenager, whereas with MySpace, everything's just out in the open. And then it turns out like, hey, they're just going to sell your information to Cambridge Analytics.
Cambridge Analytica. Coming after you and harvesting your data, harvesting your organs, harvesting your wastes.
Yeah. Anyhow, Wayfair is pretty fucked up and funny. I just really think it's hilarious that people think that it's credible that this like major multi-billion-dollar just like web platform is just like trafficking children out in the open, and just in like some people's minds this is just like the simplest, most like credible explanation for why.
My immediate thought after I heard it was I was just thinking of a pedophile who logged on to Wayfair going, all right, this better work, damn it, and then he got a cabinet and he was like, fuck, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no kid in here.
Is that how much like a trafficked person goes for?
I don't even know. Like, I would imagine that like a trafficked human being would go for way more than like $13,000.
Yeah, it depends where you are in the world. I feel if you got to ship them, yes, but if you get them in their country of origin, I think you could probably, defraud. What the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, you think? This is knowledge we glean from the movies.
Hey, that's why you see all those white dudes with muscular legs and cargo shorts in the fucking Philippines. That's the thing with Elon Musk. When he called that
Have you been to the Philippines?
No, I haven't been to the Philippines. Okay. But there are some child brides there. There's a lot of child brides in the Philippines. It's pretty bad, actually. There is a state of child.
Yeah, one of my favorite YouTube personalities is this guy who talks a lot about all of the symbology on the back of the US dollar. And he's got like really intense like Long Island divorced dad boomer energy going for him. where he talks about like the global conspiracy is threatening to fuck you up the ass, like that kind of guy. And
he sounds like Dr. Amp.
Yeah, he actually does sound a lot like Dr. Amp in a lot of ways. And I guess like it's kind of funny because if you go on his YouTube channel, then like these days he's just like broadcasting directly from the Philippines. He's probably like on a live stream like right now.
There you go. Because, you know, look, they respect a phobophiliacs there. You know, if you're a libertarian out here in Long Island, it's not longatarian, you know? But Philippines out here, it's Manilitarian, all right?
Yeah, actually, like now that you mention it, I remember I was listening to QAnon Anonymous, and they were talking about kind of like the origins of 4chan and 8chan and 8kun, and I guess like the running theory is that whoever controls Q right now is really just the guy and his son who actually own 8kun, and they're just kind of like doing this to drive traffic to their website, but I believe they live in the Philippines, of all places.
You mean the old creepy guy who keeps the servers up for 8chan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Child trafficking, man. It's always been about child trafficking.
I was thinking that guy might be involved in the Q stuff. I don't know. Alex Jones says he knows who Q is, and it's someone in the government, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, didn't he also go on record saying that he thought Q was just, like, total bullshit?
He doesn't say it's total bullshit, I don't think.
I mean, it seems like Q's sort of, like, cutting into his market of just, like,
that's more how he approaches it. He's more like...
God damn it, Q is killing us in the ratings.
Well, he's like, close... But I'm the only one who really knows exactly.
If Q finds a way to monetize brain powder, I'm going to be out of a goddamn job.
Yeah, actually, how does Alex Jones purport to know all of his stupid shit?
Sources and an NDA that means he can't talk about him. But Alex Jones had a 15-minute video about the Wayfair stuff that I would suggest watching. He calls it Did you see it?
No, what do you say?
He says it's a bear trap. And he's like, I've experienced this before. And so what the Wayfair stuff is for Alex Jones is that it's planted there by the government to distract you from all the mass arrests of pedophiles going on currently. So it's just, and he's like, if you follow the money of who placed those notices there, you'll find the deep state. So he thinks it is
a bear trap.
Yeah.
A bear trap is also a young man who is very attractive to bears. In the gay community, it is gay slang. That's where I learned it. Because I am very attracted to a lot of bear traps.
Yeah, he's eating tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes, and drinking
like Denethor?
Drinking sherry out of a tiny little glass.
His lips smacking. Yeah. He's just
he's yelling and like clipping out the microphone when he's yelling.
He's molesting hobbits all over the place. He's just addicted to molesting hobbits. See, they're not children. I'm not child trafficking. They're adults, but they're small. All right? Small. That is how I curb the instinct. In order to think like them, you have to get close. You have to molest hobbits, all right?
Yeah. I mean, I think with like Wayfair though, like the thing that like really kind of freaks me out is just like how it seems like it's really popular amongst the Zoomer crowd, and just kind of like you just have like all these like TikTok teens who are just being like, oh, and does this make sense? This is actually $13,000. That's not how much a cabinet costs. No, I don't think so. And it's like, it seems like it's definitely like red pilling like a totally different audience from what the QAnon garbage usually.
See, I get that, because it's really, millennials don't hate boomers as much as Zoomers hate boomers. The Zoomers really hate the boomers. Because we got to experience the 90s at least. We know that it was good for a second. Those guys got nothing. They were born into a blighted 9/11 2008 world. You know, they're all fucked anyway. That's, you know, they're all okay. Belle Delphine, you know? That is the ultimate rejection of all boomer ideology, is the gamer girl, bathwater girl.
I kind of don't blame him. It seems like every generation is just getting progressively worse and worse off. So I'd imagine that, we're more pissed off than Gen X, and the Zoomers are more pissed off than we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess whatever comes after the Zoomers, I'd imagine would be even more pissed off.
We got to unite with the Zoomers. They're ruthless. Those bitches are ruthless. They will cut our throats unless we unite with them.
They're too ironic. I can't handle it.
Are they ironic?
Yes, they're the most irony-driven. There's so many, they're very conservative because their parents aren't. They're very, contrarian in a way.
That's how I was, though.
Yeah.
I feel they are me.
I just don't care. I don't care what they do.
We need to do Logan's Run, okay? We need to get rid of everyone over 30, which includes me. I'm fully in support of this plan.
Well, where do we all go? All the over 30s.
We explode.
We all have to explode. We just go to.
Haven't you ever seen Logan's Run? It's carousel. We will ascend in carousel. We will go in a gravity chamber, and we will all evaporate into a fine bloody mist.
I just watched Playtime by Jacques Tati. So,
ooh, Tati.
Yeah. So we'll all go to the airport.
There you go. We will go to the great airport in the sky.
Yeah.
Lufthansa. You were saying how...
Hey, no phone calls on the pod. No phone calls on the pod.
We're not getting... No, I'm not answering phones. I'm not a fucking secretary.
Hello?
Over here.
Credit card company? Ah, yes. My card number is 5400. Oh.
5555.
Credit card company. My credit card number is 55555.
So everyone's saying that QAnon is a cult, but don't cults need to have a real cult leader? Steve,
you were saying earlier QAnon is like Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of is like Twin... I guess, specifically what I meant by that was that... I think QAnon is really interesting in terms of all the conspiracy theories out there, because I think most conspiracy theories are pretty decentralized, where some sort of event happens or politics is just in some sort of state, and you just have a group of people kind of go on online message boards, or back in the JFK days, just write books about stuff, and
hell yeah.
Everyone's purporting their different theories and mixing and matching, and then it just sort of fizzles out or whatever after enough time. But I think what makes QAnon interesting is you sort of have this sort of Jesus-esque messiah figure who's just posting all of these cryptic riddles, and which I guess the community calls the breadcrumbs, and then all the people who make all these YouTube videos about it are the bakers. So I think it's sort of interesting how it's a little bit more participatory, where you have whoever Q might be, which is almost certainly not some government agent, who's throwing out all of these Q drops, and then everyone else is kind of scrambling to put the pieces together and figure out what all the symbols mean and what all that stuff, where all that stuff's going. But
this is because religion has died. So people want to interpret tea leaves. It's just a natural human thing. We want to look for patterns where there aren't any patterns. So
it reminds me also almost of a secret society of yore, like the Rosicrucians or some of the other, some of the Freemasons. It's the participatory nature that reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm. And sort of they can all build on the mythology together. But how is it like Twin Peaks, as you're saying?
Yeah, no. So I think it's sort of like Twin Peaks. So the reason I brought up Twin Peaks is because me and my roommates are rewatching the whole series. So we did seasons 1 and 2, then Firewalk with Me, and now we're halfway through The Return.
She's dead, wrapped in plastic.
Yeah. But before we started watching it, we found this 4-hour YouTube video of this guy that was explaining all of Twin Peaks and kind of going through all of the the different symbology of it and be like, oh, well, corn means this. So whenever you have the midget saying video, like Garbanbosia, it really means that it's like the fuel for television or whatever. Yeah. And the owls mean this. And he sort of, I guess over the course of like this 4-hour YouTube video and 2 subsequent hour-and-a-half YouTube videos, so like for over the course of 7 hours, he's just meticulously going over all of this cryptic shit that David Lynch is just throwing on the screen and interpreting it and talking about the overall structure of the show and how it all fits together and what each of these micro symbols mean. And then not too long after I saw that video, I started watching some like Hugh Baker shit. And it's really funny how it's literally the exact same thing where they're kind of like asking all of these different questions and kind of like
reading tea leaves.
Yeah, and just kind of like making these like 4 different hops for like logic. Be like, oh, well, what about this? But you know what that means? That means that. And then this other thing, oh, you know what that means? And then that's how they kind of...
I have seen that video. And there is one observation about Twin Peaks that guy makes, which I do like, is that Twin Peaks does make a lot more sense if you interpret the show as characters who are slowly realizing that they're characters in a TV show, but never quite really reaching it or understanding that it's a TV show. What they interpret as a TV show is really the cosmology of their universe of electricity, you know? Yeah. And I think that's what's interesting is like, that's sort of what QAnon is too, is people realizing they're in a TV show, you know? It's find the clues and you'll arrest the pedophiles, you know? Find the jailer, arrest the pedophiles.
And I think that's like another reason why it's probably so popular. I mean, I think for like a more educated set, it's like you'll see a lot of the Q drops and it just seems sort of like pedestrian and just kind of lazy and stupid. But I think for a lot of people who like this is their first exposure to the idea that like, hey, wait a second, just like the universe that the media is building for me isn't entirely correct, and they just sort of get sort of like red pilled to like that idea, but it just happens to be associated with all of this just far right extreme pedophilia stuff also.
I think it's because the ultimate truth, once you're through the looking glass, you've been red-pilled so hard, you know, age is just a number. That's how hard you've been red-pilled. Oh, man. Why is it that the red pill philosophy just makes you want to get into that young person thing? What is that young person thing among men? There was this documentary on Netflix, which I never watched, but its name struck me, and it was called "Are All Men Pedophiles?" But the general thrust is
what's the answer? Are they all pedophiles?
On the whole, apparently men like them young, straight men like them young, gay men like them young. What is that? Can we explain this phenomenon through Evo Psych and such?
That's not true.
Is that not true?
No, it's fucking not. That's just not true.
That's straight up not true. Men don't like them young across the board.
I like them my age.
That's nice. I'm glad you guys don't like. I'm glad you guys are not ephebophiles. I can really trust you.
Yeah, you ever hang out with anyone under the age of 20?
The House of Decline teens suck.
You ever try to do that? Go for it. Go try to do that.
Yeah, we were talking.
Report back on your findings on how good of a time you have hanging out with anyone under 20.
But that's not the point of it. You're not hanging out. The implication is that you're dating them because you're interested in them, as opposed to just manipulating them emotionally in order to abuse cavities.
Okay. It's boring.
Yeah. That's not what people want. Maybe you're relationship people. Maybe you're looking for some sort of cosmic union with another person where you look into each other's eyes and such and maybe feel less alone in the existential brutality of the universe. I don't think that, a lot of the ephebophiliacs, a lot of the libertarian brony fedora people don't want that. They want a trad wife. It's all about their ego. It's not about giving up their ego. It's about building upon themselves and adding the souls of children to them.
I don't think that that's red pilling.
That is red pilling.
That's not.
That's the very definition of red pilling. Sucking the souls of children.
I mean, I guess it's red pilling depending on like which matrix you happen to be located in at the moment.
Yeah. Alex is stuck in the pedophile matrix, I think.
Whoa, it turns out that fucking kids was the best way to do this.
Oh, no.
My eyes are open.
Peter Thiel funds the pedophile matrix movies. We're through the looking glass now, people. It turns out age was just a thing invented by machines in order to prevent us from interacting with our soul selves.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that, like, especially for our generation, it's like we kind of grew up on movies like Fight Club and The Matrix. So I think just this idea has just been kind of like burned into our consciousness that's like, whoa, it turns out that society has it all wrong and you're the only person who can like really understand how things work, and all you need to do is take this little pill and you'll join this special society of people who...
But that's not how the Matrix actually goes. That's why the Matrix Reloaded was so disappointing, because it basically says you can't beat the system. You think you're outside of it, but you're never outside of it. You're always a part of it by virtue of just existing. You know, there's no such thing as being absent of the system. You are always functioning some way in whatever system there is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I think, like, also, like, that seems to be, like, the main point of Fight Club as well, is that, like, you sort of grow up with your frustration with the system, and then you have this rebellious phase, and then it turns out that isn't really tenable either, and you should just kind of grow up and not blow up buildings. But it seems like in both movies, it's like that point is lost on most people, where they just sort of like buy into the first act and they just kind of like stop watching the movie after that.
I think that's because they're all Gen X movies, and the theme of all Gen X movies is you can't really beat the system. That's the theme of Reality Bites, where Winona Ryder joins the system. That's the theme of what are other Hallmark Gen X movies? Fucking Singles. I never saw Singles.
Heathers
is not
that
a
Gen X?
Is that a Gen X movie?
I don't know.
Heathers is awesome. Fuck, I will watch
It's
Heathers.
okay. I mean, yeah, Heathers is good. Heathers is a little bit outside of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Heathers is in my canon of good movies.
My canon. Nick Cannon.
Oh yeah, Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon, motherfucker got fired.
Nick Cannon, yay!
In the ongoing theme of House of Decline, of the black anti-Semitism theme, which is extremely funny. One, because it doesn't affect Jews in any way.
Hey, you never responded to my tweet about the massacre of Grenada in 1066. Because the black persecution of the Jews has deep roots.
Oh no, Grenada.
The last time I could find evidence of it was also 1,000 years ago.
Yes. 1,000 years in the past, the blacks were mean to the Jews. What? The Jews have been very mean to the blacks, much more recently. Look up the Ethiopian sterilization in Israel. That shit's crazy.
Let me tally up my scorecard.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Let's see.
What did Nick Cannon even say?
Nick Cannon, he said Hotep shit.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm glad that Nick Cannon's found a way to be, like, relevant again. So, like, all the more power to him. But I guess he's not relevant enough that I actually heard what anti-Semitic stuff he was saying.
So what was really funny is we have also talked about this character on the podcast before. Professor Griff, disgraced Public Enemy DJ, who basically said the Jews run everything and they are wicked and have been behind all the wickedness in the world for the past 200 years. And he was like dropping Rothschild names and that. And that shit all comes from Farrakhan, who's been saying the Jews are wicked for years. And so the Farrakhan to Professor Griff to Nick Cannon pipeline. Nick Cannon has apparently revealed himself to be a student of Farrakhan, because he was saying, when you look at it, the Jews do run all of Hollywood. And, you know, they have been behind a lot of the wickedness in the past 200 years. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect. He also called white people savages because they were raised in the mountains without the sun, so they were forced to become more savage.
Raised in the mountains?
Yes.
What?
What
in the
sounds- that sounds-
Caucasus, in their
that sounds
origin of
dope.
the Caucasus Mountains. Yeah,
That sounds
I know.
dope. I wish I was raised in the mountains.
No, but that's the great thing about NOI theory is it makes white people sound like these awesome enemy orcs, which is like, I'm a fucking orc. Hells yeah.
No, don't fall into that way of thinking.
And what else did he say about white people? He said, oh no, he was also propagating, Melanin Theory.
I don't, but I was listening to a software and artists conference yesterday where someone was talking about Melanin Theory, and I couldn't tell if he was like a COVID conspiracy theorist or not, or if he falls into like the Nick Cannon school of anti-Semitism, or I don't know. What is it?
You don't have to be anti-Semitic to believe in Melanin Theory. Melanin Theory is, I'm sure, like some of the Wu-Tang guys probably believe in Melanin Theory.
I have no idea what it is.
It's a NOI idea that says that because humanity draws its power from the sun, and because melanin absorbs more sun, hence black people are more powerful, more suited to the earth.
We draw our power from the sun.
Yeah. Well, because it's Melanin Theory. God damn it! It's NOI.
Yes.
It's modern mythology that is essentially designed to make say that black people are actually superior, which is what Nick Cannon was. He was chatting about with Professor Griff, which is fine to me because I don't really. Those black Hebrew Israelites. They're really taking over the country, They're really influencing elections and stuff.
Oh, God. Well, it sounds bad in Canada if I'm taking you seriously. That sounds scary.
It's bad. The black Hebrew Israelites have a block. They're forming their own.
God.
They're forming their own province in Halifax. It's called going to be called New Ethiopia.
Oh, I played Canada in my one of my most recent Civ games.
How did it go?
Well, Halifax was stolen from me by the black Hebrew Israelites.
Oh no!
It was foretold.
Man, I have my superpower is that I can alter history through my Civ games.
Oh God!
Like I play my Civ games, and then history just turns out that way. I can make a nuclear Gandhi real. Do you want a nuclear Gandhi? There are actually nuclear Gandhis. Indira Gandhi was a nuclear Gandhi. Would you rather have a nuclear family or a nuclear Gandhi?
Why are China and India fighting over this territory that seems like it's a piece of shit?
Because, I don't know, might be oil there. Might be stuff there.
Is there stuff there?
Yeah. Well, land is the only thing. Steve, as a Georgist... As a Georgist, you must agree that land is the only thing.
Are you a Georgist?
Yeah, I suppose I am a Georgist. I don't know.
Really? You would call you're a card-carrying Georgist now?
How does the land value tax fix everything?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked, Stephen. This is what every Georgist wants to be asked at all times throughout the day. So I guess this give you a little background on my the progression of my thoughts on economics. So back in high school, I kind of started out more on the socialism side of things, and then I got red pilled by Ayn Rand. And I was like, hey, capitalism is the best shit ever.
Can happen.
Yeah.
She's got some attractive thoughts.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
you are a superhero.
Yeah. And as most high schoolers do, I eventually grew out of it, and mainly upon receiving my liberal arts education and realizing how the world worked, and further compounded with actually interacting with the real economy and seeing that Ayn Rand is a fucking moron. But I forget if I found Georgism from like Wikipedia or... In any case, like one of my professors at Bard was a huge Georgist. So when I took urban economics, one of the big parts of that was just kind of studying the history of how land played into economic theory and what Henry George had to say about it. And I think kind of like starting from square one, a lot of people tend to have a a warped view of how economies sort of form, where in a lot of economic textbooks, they will kind of talk about like, oh, well, the reason that you need markets and capitalism is because let's start with a system where everyone is sort of like trading things. And what if I have shoes, but I want bread? But the bread maker doesn't need shoes. The bread maker needs flowers. So then there needs to be a mutual coincidence of want. And I need to go do this three-way trade where I trade shoes for flowers and then flowers for bread.
Okay.
And therefore,
we're at currency.
Yeah, so therefore you're at currency. And I guess there are a couple interesting things about that. The first thing is that it turns out that that's all like total bullshit. Like,
fuck currency.
Yeah.
Bitcoin investments, Ethereum. Nothing is real. Throw broken glass at banks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if that's the way you want to go.
Yeah.
But there's this really good book written by David Graeber called Debt the First 5,000 Years, which
I think first 5,000 years of debt?
Yeah. So I think Graeber is actually like one of the people who started Occupy Wall Street. So he's like a well-known like semi-anarchist, but he's also like a very well-respected anthropologist.
Is he a Georgist?
He's not a Georgist, but I'll get there.
Okay.
So what he kind of talks about in this book is that it turns out that actually this isn't really as related as I thought it was, but I'm going to keep talking anyhow.
Do it. Talk about David Graeber. Let's relate it.
Yeah.
We'll circle back.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of what the book talks about is it's sort of like pre-agrarian economic anthropology and kind of talking about different societies and how it's basically like an economic anthropology book, and it kind of talks about how different societies before the advent of agriculture deal with distributing resources. And
how did these cavemen throw rocks at each other in order to trade? Is what
well,
you're saying.
I mean, I think the interesting thing is that in the like the natural state of humanity, which I guess is like my point here. So it's like humans just evolve out of the earth, and now you have humans who have to like deal with resources and survive. So in this like quote unquote natural state, people aren't like, there's no capitalism. People like, there's no currency. People aren't trading things. You essentially just have these like proto-communist communities where people are just like watching out for each other, and you have
anarcho-syndical villages, basically what every anarchist black bloc weirdo comes over would want to see in their dreams, and everyone is very very woke though.
Yeah, more or less, where it's like you essentially have each of these communities watching out for themselves and sharing things, because it would be stupid not to, because if you're in a community of 100 people, it's like doesn't make any sense to like mint a currency and be that pedantic about like, oh, well, I gave you 3 chickens last month and you only gave me 2 chickens this month.
I mean, yeah, we all romanticize kibbutzes, except they murder Palestinians. But if the kibbutzes didn't murder Palestinians, we'd all love to kibutz,
Did they always murder Palestinians, or is that more recent?
Always. 100% of the time. You join a kibbutz, gotta kill a Palestinian kid your first day on the kibbutz. You drink their blood, it's great. No, I'm sorry, that's too far.
We're gonna get canceled.
Gone too far in my Israel bashing. That's okay. We have 2 of the 3 are Jews in this episode.
No, 2 and 1/8. No, 2 and 1/8.
2 and an Elizabeth Warren of Jew.
I am 1/8 Jewish, as previously noted.
I am 1/16 Ashkenazi.
It is 2 and 1/8 Jews on the show right now. Okay.
Yeah. So there's
good ratio. Yeah.
This is the Jewish episode.
Yeah.
We're gonna call this the Jewish episode.
The Jewish episode. Yeah.
The Jewish question.
Episode.
The only, I was thinking about this the other day. The only Jewish question is, can you take the spice out of this dish?
What?
That's the only Jewish question, I would like this dish to be less spicy. Can you take the spice out of this dish?
This cake needs more noodles.
Can you put more noodles in this? That's so we're Graeber. Graeber's saying there's a state of nature in economy.
Yeah, so I think like the natural state of the human, so to speak, is to kind of live in sort of like a proto-communist society, and you do actually have trading amongst people, but that's more at the level of when you have different tribes trading with each other because you don't have that same trust relationship. Yeah. And like if my group of people doesn't trust your group of people, then we can't really hold you to the same standard. So it's like that's the only place you really have this sort of kind of like marketplace and exchange of stuff. However, I guess like once you, and this is sort of like deviating from Graeber a bit, but I think like just historically, as you start seeing larger and larger societies, I guess like as you advance beyond like Dunbar's number or whatever it is, where it's like the human brain can only keep 160 relationships or so in their head at once, then it gets like progressively harder and harder to keep track of just like informally who you're like helping out and who owes you what. So I think like at that point, that's where, and he talks about like how currency actually started, which is very interesting. But I think that it's like once you start getting to like much larger societies, that's where you start getting currency and capitalism coming out of it, because it's much harder to
you can't trust your peeps is what you're saying. So you need something that represents trust in your peeps,
right? So I think that,
and that's money is instant trust, it's instant worth, it's instant power, because it represents you're good for it, honey, you're good for it.
So I think that that was a little rambly or a little bit of a windy road to essentially
to Georgism.
Yeah, to Georgism, which is
Summer of George.
It's the Summer of George.
So I think what makes all of this like really interesting is if you're kind of like analyzing capitalism from the context of like we evolved from like the natural state of nature, and then capitalism just sort of happened. I mean, it didn't just sort of happen, but like hypothetically, let's say that we kind of we went straight from hunter-gatherers to capitalism, and we're living in a libertarian paradise. Now you're sort of in this interesting scenario where we're in this globalist, post-industrial
paradise. That's a funny phrase.
Little St. James.
Fucking kids on the sea.
Little St. James.
Libertarian paradise. It's like Fantasy Island, but the only fantasy being fulfilled is fucking kids.
Okay, so we ate the apple, and now we have capitalism.
Yeah. It actually sounds like a great cruise, by the way, where it's just like this Gulch cruise where you're just like trading gold for
kids,
for like cocktails and stuff.
It's literally cars for kids.
So I think like in the world we live in now, which is like, globalized, post-industrial, it's, I think like at the end of the day, like the key value proposition of capitalism and libertarianism is that it's like the least coercive of all of the economic dogmas, where it's like, I choose who I trade with and all that stuff. But I feel like these days it's pretty coercive. Like people don't really have a choice to like whether or not to live in capitalism, because they're just sort of born into this society, and it's like, okay, I can't just like go off into the forest because there is no forest anymore because some lumber asshole just destroyed it to make wood out of it, and now there's a bunch of condos and stuff there.
Also, because of the tendency towards monopoly, the idea that you have a meaningful choice is eradicated. So you're just prostrating yourself as much to some gigantic corporate conglomerate, a corporate price-fixing scheme, as you would to Mr. Stalin's government over there. Mr. Stalin.
Mr. Stalin.
Yeah. So I think with like all of this as a backdrop, it's I guess like the key tenet of Georgism is that land is fundamentally different from labor or capital. Whereas with, I guess one of the main points of capitalism is that like, oh, well, I built this using my labor, so therefore it belongs to me.
Whenever someone says they fucking mix their labor with something, I always imagine someone jizzing into the ground and going, oh, my labor! I'm mixing it with the soil! I'm sorry.
I mean, no, it's actually like not a terrible.
That's what
metaphor.
you imagine, huh? Huh. Is that
Yeah, it's
how
like-
you think
it's like-
houses are built?
Yeah. I wish that's how, if I could come houses instead of babies, oh my god.
Yeah, that's
Oh
why
my
that's why Jimmy Carter's still alive. It's just his virality of.
I'm
just
coming
building-
houses all over the country. I
Yeah.
have so much viral cum. There's so much viral peanut cum in my testicles, in my nuts, in my peanuts.
Okay, that's.
Coming houses all over the place. Back to Georgism.
Yeah, back to Georgism. Yeah, so I guess like really the point of Georgism is that land and kind of the earth has existed since before humans have existed, and
Gotcha.
no one's created earth, no one's created natural resources, no one's created land. So therefore, it's a little
except for the United Arab Emirates, they've created land.
Sort of. So I mean, there's actually something
Yeah.
that's like kind of brought up in
China too, with the South China Islands.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's something that's definitely brought up with Georgism a lot is like what happens if you create land on top of water. And I think the idea behind that is, well, really what you're talking about is the idea of physical space. So technically the platform you've built on top of the water is now capital. Whereas you didn't create the space, you didn't create the resources that were used to kind of like build this capital. So I think really like the main point here is that since philosophically from square one, since no one has created land or space or natural resources, that is like the most ethical thing that you can tax people on. So for example, if you are you're the mayor of a city, if you're the mayor, according to Georges, the most ethical thing you could tax people on is taxing them on the unimproved value of land. So essentially the land that's in the center of the city, so in New York it would be like downtown Manhattan, each square foot of land there would be taxed at a much, much higher rate than somewhere like out in Staten Island, which like no one gives a shit about.
Chum Bucket Cove in Staten Island.
Yeah.
Scumberg.
Scumberg. Where you from, kid? Scumberg.
From Scumberg.
I came here on the Staten Island Ferry, who's a guy named Enzo Rizzo. But he calls himself the Staten Island Ferry. I give you rides for $25 on the Staten Island Ferry.
You just rode some guy.
Yeah, he rode a guy he took him across the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Go Enzo, I'm the Staten Island Ferry.
Yeah, so I think on top of that, like another aspect of it is that, like from a more practical standpoint, is that since you can't really create land, or rather you can't create space, then it's the perfect thing to tax, because if you were to tax, like, I guess there's like the old conservative argument that it's a little bit true. It's like mostly false, I hear, but the idea that like, oh, well, if you start raising taxes on people, then they'll produce less stuff, and they won't be as incentivized to like go and produce value. And it's like, cool, but if you were to tax land, then it's like no one's creating land. It's just people are just sitting on top of it. So you could essentially tax the shit out of land, and it's not going to affect any sort of economic activity, because you're taxing the shit out of it, and people are being like, okay, well, I guess I have to keep just doing what I'm doing. So just from a pragmatic standpoint, it seems like that's a very good way to raise tax revenue.
So what you're saying is that how it usually works is more taxes equals less shit, but in the case of land, it doesn't work that way. More taxes doesn't necessarily mean less land.
Yeah, exactly. So I think really like the end goal of Georgism is you just tax the shit out of land, and also just like other externalities, like a lot of Georgist proponents.
Smoke.
Yeah, like cigarette smoke. I think in particular, a lot of Georgists are big fans of like carbon taxes and taxes on mining natural resources, since, you know, resources were created by the earth. It's like no one really has a claim to them. So if you're going to be mining oil, then really you should be paying money back to the community for doing all that, and then with all this money, use that to fund the government and also ideally fund some sort of like universal basic income.
Hell yeah, UBIs. We're talking about economics.
Yeah.
It's a paradigm shift. We are going to live with nature, and we're going to have the stock market of nature. I'll give you 3 twigs for an acorn, bitch. That's how we're going to live.
It's actually funny, like on Reddit, one of my favorite subreddits is the subreddit George Did Nothing Wrong, which is just a George's meme subreddit.
Where they actually nerds. They actually nerds. You have a favorite subreddit? Nah, I do too.
What's your favorite subreddit, Alex?
The RuPaul's Drag Race subreddit, of course.
Oh, wow.
That makes sense.
Subscribe.
It's a very active community.
Wow.
Since the Chapo subreddit got shit canned, I really like the Chapo subreddit. It was a funny lefty posting ship. I will admit it. You can cringe at me. See? That's why I can joke about Steve's liking the Georgism meme subreddit.
Oh no, I totally acknowledge how fucking stupid it is, but that's also why I love it, because it makes no sense.
Well, what if we just add a value-added tax, like switch to that instead of I think we can't switch to the land value tax in one go, but one way we could get the idea of switching tax systems could be to get rid of sales tax and switch to value-added tax, just as like a prep to get us ready to make the big jump.
Well, I guess, like, what exactly is the value-added tax? Because what a lot of people explain a land value tax, they explain it the opposite way, which is you're taxing the unimproved value of the land.
I'm just talking about getting people ready to switch it up, but I mean, if we should switch it to a different way, then let's do that too.
No, we just have to, all the land it's got to be a homesteading. People get flags, and you get a square kilometer. I'm sorry, a square mile for you Yanks out there.
I think we just got to get rid of all the grocery stores.
You're right.
Yeah. That would work, yeah.
And just everyone has to grow your own,
Yeah. We'll have apartment farms. We'll have beautiful apartment farms. Economics.
I actually live right next door to a supermarket, so I could just grow food on the roof of the shell of Gala Fresh.
There you go.
I don't know.
There are community gardens everywhere. Everyone loves community gardens.
Mm-hmm.
They're so wholesome and fresh and for the community. But private gardens, we don't like those. Private gardens?
Well, yeah. I mean, how would we switch? Can we switch to the land? Do you think we could do it? Could we make a switch?
I mean, I think like the hardest part is, well, I think like one thing I've sort of realized is that while this kind of sounds like just some like really in the weeds wonky tax shit, it's like once you start thinking about switching over, you start to realize that it's actually fairly radical, and that a lot of American society is entirely built on the idea of land ownership and home ownership. So I think a lot of like the powers that be in major cities such as New York would not be big fans of this at all, where you're essentially just blowing up all real estate value in the entire country.
Yeah. Well, Georgists hate landlords. They hate landlords almost as much as Mao.
Well,
I think Mao is actually like into Henry George.
Hells yeah! He got the mouse. He got the chairman's seal of approval. You know he's good, man.
Yeah, so is Leo Tolstoy.
Hell yeah, I love Tolstoy. I was trying to think of a joke about Toy Story and Tolstoy called Tolstoyery.
Oh no, I'm getting
What's happening?
I don't know.
What's happening? We're getting an alert. It's an alert is happening.
I told you Georgism was radical. They heard us.
Oh my god.
They heard us.
They're
That's what happened.
investigating us now.
Nah, I just got an Amber Alert, y'all. All right.
Oh my god.
Amber Alert on the podcast. We're looking for a Chrysler 300.
It's a guy who this is the Wayfair conspiracy in real time. He's this child was shipped to him today in a cabinet.
Contact the Traverse County Sheriff's Office if you see a Chrysler 300. Okay, that's it.
Contact. We have some Michigan dispatch as of the time of this recording. Chrysler 300, Traverse County Office, Amber Alert.
The Michigan governor sent out an alert just like that the other day. To everyone at the same time to wear a mask, and all the conservatards flipped out. They flipped their shit. They were like the fucking tyrant. They're calling her Whitler because her name is Whitmer, but they're calling her Whitler.
I like Hitler, but white Hitler? That's all right.
Because she sent a text to wear a mask, she's now Hitler.
She's Hitler, man. Man, that cloth is fucking you up, man. You can't breathe. You know, I bet people have used the line, it's like those Black Lives Matter people say, I can't breathe. Well, this mask, I really do. Yeah.
So I saw today some assholes in a truck roll coal past the entrance to the supermarket I go to because the people were wearing masks out there. And it's just, they're malicious, and we're going to have a civil war. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to join the union. It'll be fun to finally get to unleash the beast.
You can't join our goddamn civil war, you Canadian bastard.
I'm going to defect. I'll be the Kazmir Pulaski. Except that's my drag queen name is Kashmir Pulaski.
Ooh.
Guys,
Kashmir Pulaski Day.
I have a business idea. I'm not sure if it's moral or not.
Is it Tex-Mex Chex-Mex?
No. Well,
throwback. Oh boy.
It can be. My business idea is I want to market and sell face masks to conservative nut jobs who don't want to.
Already on Etsy. It's on Etsy.
Is it?
Yeah.
So I guess like this is where I think the moral gray area starts to get in. Like hypothetically, like I wouldn't put a swastika on a face mask, but if you put a swastika on a face mask and sold it, and you got some white nationalist idiot to wear it, are you making society better off or worse off?
Worse off, and Diego agrees. Diego voiced his...
Diego he doesn't like your ethics of killing Nazis through passive chemical warfare.
No, and I agree with that. I also think that you shouldn't even use plastic packaging when you're to be an ethical producer. So much unnecessary stuff.
Okay, so what if instead of swastikas you market it as you market it towards like the 5G conspiracy theory crowd and say that if you wear this face mask, it'll protect you from all of the
bimbofication?
From like all the 5G
it's made with lead and it just makes them all hyper aggressive because they're just breathing lead in constantly. Oh man,
I'm glad I'm talking to you guys about this because now I'm like understanding where the moral lines in the sand are in this product.
We're solving problems. We're regular ethicists here.
Have you guys ever thought about being an entrepreneurial podcast?
Yeah. Oh, we're ready to make the launch.
Yeah.
We're ready.
We're talking about economics and Chex-Mex, Tex-Mex. And
Chex-Mex, Tex-Mex.
I'm ready to give 8% of our earnings to Patreon.
Support your Patreon lords.
Yeah. No. Support your local Patreon company. Patreon.
If you guys had...
Patreon barons.
If you guys had 1 million listeners a week, how would you monetize that, if at all?
Extra episode. Bonus episode.
Fest on the beach.
Bonus app. Alex is going to design t-shirts.
We are going to have all the canceled people there. We're going to have Louis C.K. there. Yeah. We're going to have Bill Cosby. We're going to get him a distance.
Get all the canceled people. And I also am going to launch my idea of affirmative action for canceled people.
You're right.
Go over
Insurance for canceled people.
Insurance for canceled people. We have lots of things. We're going to sell products. We got a bunch of ways to monetize, all coming very soon.
Yeah. We're replacing cancel culture with canceled culture. We're creating a parallel economy for the canceled.
But, you know, money's not real. So, what's the point?
I like it.
They're about Have you seen this stuff lately that the Fed's going to change how they're approaching inflation and they're not going to do something with the 2% anymore?
What's the best inflation?
They're going to like go for more inflation. Why are they trying to get more inflation?
Because they're inflation fetishists.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I get it. That's a good one. I'll give that to you.
All right. Yeah.
I think, like, in general, like, when you're talking about monetary policy, I think the general thought there is that there's sort of a trade-off between unemployment and inflation, where the less unemployment you have, the more you're juicing the economy, and the more money is just like sloshing around the system, and that inevitably leads to inflation. So I think, like,
my big juicy ass filled with money, just slopping around and sloshing all the dumb effect, clapping together my big juicy money ass.
Alex, if you could be chairman of the Fed, I would vote for you. And
all right, chairman of the Fed.
Oh no,
100% big juicy money ass. That's my slogan. Fuck you, Elizabeth Warren. I'm chairman of the Fed.
So Think Advisor is saying Fed is setting the stage for a major policy change, and it will attempt to push inflation rate above 2% target. It's a whole new ball game.
It's a whole new inflation ball.
It's a ball game. It's a big juicy ball game.
Your dollar is worth even less.
I mean, I don't really understand like how the Fed is even like doing this at this point, because it seems like the Fed and also like the rest of the government is like they're just kind of like swinging in the wind. Like they have no fucking idea what they're doing, and they're just trying to kind of prevent the economy from falling into a giant crater. And like I don't even think monetary policy is like the best way to do it, because like all they can really do is just like move around interest rates and like prop up the stock market with just by like throwing cash into the system, but they're not actually affecting the real economy. It's kind of...
we should just switch the currency to the Iraqi dinar and just start all over again.
Oh, man.
Just all buy dinars.
If it turns out we do switch to the dinar, those people are going to be so happy.
It will really make up for the last 50 years.
Well, I guess what does the dinar even look like? Like I'm not sold on it until...
It looks like a little coin, you know? Sometimes they have
like,
paper bills as well.
You know, yeah, it looks like just Iraqi money.
Yeah, it looks like, you know, there's
white.
Probably a guy on it. There's probably an Iraqi leader on it.
But what guy? What are the patterns on it? These are all important questions.
You're right.
Oh, because of the potential for like revelation through symbology.
You see, on the Iraqi money, there is not a pyramid with an eye, but rather a sphere with an eye. That shows that they are the sphere people, because they are sphereful of the triangle eye people.
And
now
Sphinx,
we're getting through.
And the Sphinx is a triangle-eyed, when the eyes are the spheres. Okay, yeah.
When the eyes are the spheres of the Sphinx, the triangle eyes will come for you, and that's when you see on the Iraqi dinar, you're going to have your dinner. It's just that simple.
Yeah, so according to Google, one Iraqi dinar is worth $0.00084 US dollars.
Hells yeah, let's go to there. If we want to inflate, let's inflate. Let's not be bitches about it, you know?
If the dollar crashes, then this is what the conspiracy theorists are predicting, is that the dollar crashes and the Chinese peg their currency to gold to stabilize the world.
I love the phrase currency pegging. It's my
They peg their currency with the golden dildo.
Pegging you with currency.
Yeah, there's a lot of like
getting pegged. The currency's getting pegged to the Chinese yuan.
Yeah, you're not realizing all of the sexual undertones.
Yuan is getting pegged.
Man, I saw that. I've seen that video. The Chinese are going to swoop in.
Yeah. And don't get me started on Hong Kong, those cucks. They've been getting pegged by the dollar for years.
Hong Kong, more like Hong cucks.
Yeah.
Ouch, man, we're getting canceled again. Damn.
More like Cuck Denise.
Too bad they're all racist.
No, are they all racist? I know there's a lot of Pepes in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
What do you mean by you mean the Hong Kong protesters who want a more capitalist Hong Kong?
Yeah.
As opposed to communism with Chinese characteristics?
Well, yeah. One thing that gets missed on is that the Han ethno-nationalism is crazy.
Oh man, it's cool. It's
We
like
need
you're
a-
everyone. Everyone around you is you.
We need a Han correspondent.
Han correspondent.
Yeah.
Correspondent.
Like that can double about like Han Solo and Han Chinese.
I'm the loneliest Chinese man on earth. I'm Han Solo.
What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about if they're gonna
Monetary policy.
Yeah, if they're gonna swoop in when the dollar crashes, or do you think the dollar's gonna crash?
I mean, I think that right now we're in. I don't know. Like, I don't think that there's really much that the Fed can actually do because, as I said, like all they could do is really like raise and lower interest rates and just buy financial assets, but they can't actually do much to affect the real economy, and that's what fiscal policy is for. Mm-hmm. But our government is filled with a bunch of incompetent sociopaths, so it seems like we're just gonna like stop giving people money in August and hope everyone fends for themselves.
Hell yeah. Battle Royale.
I think they're going to extend the unemployment. I think they're going to lower it. I think they're going to torture us. And they're going to be like, now it's at 400.
Don't get too used to water, or you will regret its absence.
And now we're going to give out like $900 checks to everyone earning below 50,000.
Please,
I mean, like this.
Some more.
Yeah.
I mean, none of this like makes any sense though. This is all just like completely ridiculous because the economy is. I mean, the last few months it's essentially been in a crater because people can't leave their houses. And
I mean, it's just isn't it like the economic orthodoxy just to fucking print money in times when your economy, by dint of a natural disaster. An inescapable natural disaster, it's fucked, so you just print money to keep it going until the natural disaster is over.
Yes,
and I mean that would know. I think that would work if you printed the money and actually like fucking gave it to people.
Instead of giving it to businesses with Pell Grants who have been in minority communities for the last 3 years, who have qualified for, etc. Kamala Harris's.
I mean, I think like some of the stuff that they did like sort of makes sense. Like, I don't think it was like the best use of resources, but they were at least like actually they did some stuff to, like pump money into the real economy. But
Kanye West got a lot of small business money.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that story where Kanye West's some of his small businesses recouped millions of dollars in recovery funds.
God damn it.
Because the world is a vampire. Drive you insane.
Yeah, well, hey, I think he just realized, I think maybe yesterday, that there's a place called the West Wing, and so now he really wants to be president. And the president shit is back on for Kanye once he learned about the West Wing. Holy shit.
He's going to rename it the North Wing after his daughter. He doesn't even get it. Oh, man. I love Kanye. I love that whole mess. God bless him. Did he ever say anything anti-Semitic ever?
Probably. I don't know.
Nah, let's not put that on Kanye.
I mean, he's enough of a lunatic that if he said something anti-Semitic, it wouldn't really faze me. It would just sort of like fit into the rest of his...
He said anti-vax stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's sort of a patchwork quilt of stuff. So the fact that like Nation of Islam stuff directly conflicts with like Candace Owens stuff.
Oh, well, Kanye is very Christian right now, so.
Yes. He's always been Christian, though. Hasn't he?
I don't know.
Hasn't he been a good Christian boy?
Have you?
Jesus Walks. Which is a song about Jesus cooking delicious, delicious Chinese food.
Jesus Walks.
Delicious Hunan beef. Kanye West was spreading Chinese propaganda, is what I'm saying. He was spreading the image of Chinese Jesus.
He's like the NBA
propaganda. What do you guys think is going to happen in the NBA?
NBA?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What's going to happen? Are they going to do the playoffs or not?
Yeah, they're gonna. What are they gonna do? They're gonna. First of all, I think they set this up like a couple months ago, where it's like where they were like, "Oh yeah, like there are no cases of COVID in Florida. We could just go to Disney World. We'll be in a bubble. Everything will be fine." So now they're in Florida, which is the global epicenter of coronavirus. And I think what they're gonna do is they have. I don't know what the logic was behind this, but they're inviting 22 out of 30 teams.
Okay.
And they're going to do a kind of like a mini 8-game season. And then based on that, they're going to just do the playoff.
All in Florida?
All in Disney World.
All in Disney World?
All in Disney World.
Where they've opened the gates to customers?
Yes, Disney World.
It would be crazy if the Disney World is where the zombies actually start coming from. If like someone in Florida does bath salts and gets COVID on the same day and bites a person, and then it bites Mark Gasol, or who's the Frenchman that got it to begin with in the NBA, who everyone viewed with impunity?
Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert.
I think.
Rudy Gogurt.
Yeah.
Stephen Gobert.
What pissed me off most about that was like right around the time that shit was starting to get real, and the Nets were supposed to play. I'm a big Nets fan. The Nets were supposed to play the Golden State Warriors in an empty arena. I'm thinking of wrestling and like empty arena matches, but they're essentially going to have like an empty arena match, and then Gobert got it, and then they had to cancel it. So,
Gobert.
Life is suffering.
That is true. We cannot see all of our basketball games. Yeah. We cannot see our ball games.
I think baseball's the only one they could do, right? Baseball's the best one for distance.
Yeah, I mean, I think baseball's probably the safest to play, but
tennis is the safest to play. We could have a big tennis leagues, big badminton.
You're not sitting in the dugout just spitting all over each other.
That's what baseball is now. It's just men spitting on each other's dicks. The dicks are the bats. The spit is the ball. It's baseball.
Yeah.
This is what
your butt, or the base is the Nazis.
They're studying this period in history. Sports radically changed in the early 2010s. In 2020, oh my God, I don't understand time anymore. Yeah. Baseball, that's why we all spit on each other's dicks, Timmy. How come women can't play baseball? Because you don't have the bats.
Whoa, dude. They could get them.
It's going to be misogyny. There's still going to be misogyny in 500 years.
In 500 years?
Get ready, folks. We're going to live in a misogynistic future.
Do you think they still have cheeseburgers in 500 years?
Yes, but they're going to be called ass burgers.
Well, I guess define cheeseburger, because I don't know. I'm not convinced that we're going to have cows in 500 years.
It's going to be called a schmburger.
Yeah, you can have a soy-based cheeseburger. Either lab or soy-based. Do you think people will still be making a patty of material with cheese and a bun?
What's going to change is it's going to be normal to have square patties like Wendy's, and the circular patties are going to be the abnormal ones.
Oh my God.
Whoa, I can't handle this future. Square patties everywhere. Wendy's is no longer relevant.
Yeah. Well, I'm answering the big questions.
Oh my God.
So.
Yeah.
What can you say? What can you say about Nick Cannon? Sorry, I'm just too obsessed with Nick Cannon. I think it's so funny. I have to bring it back to Nick Cannon.
Didn't
because
he get fired?
He got fired from Wildin' Out. My pussy is wildin' out with Nick Cannon.
What is Nick Cannon?
Mrs. Mariah Carey Nick Cannon.
What is he even like doing with his life now?
He's trying to get the rights to his rap show because they fired him from his rap show that was on CBS owned. What is it on even VH1? Is it on VH1?
VH1?
I don't know. It might be on VH1. But the thing about Nick Cannon is he's associated with a wholesome image. He's just been this incredibly bland, Ryan Seacrest-like host for these mass culture appeal shows like America's Got Talent and The Masked Singer. And The Masked Singer is dope, by the way. I love the fucking Masked Singer. It's so fucking surreal. I love it. But just when you have this bland guy, who's like normal in the streets, but in the sheets, he's telling you that the Jews have controlled everything for the last 300 years. It's just really funny. Nick, all that Cannon. Nick Drumline Cannon. Fucking Nick Cannon saying about the Jews. It's lovely.
I guess, like, all things considered, would you consider Nick Cannon to be as successful, less successful, or more successful than the rest of the All That cohort?
He's more all of them. He's more successful. Who else is comparable? Amanda Bynes. She went
Keenan has kept a job at SNL like his hands on in a vice or something. He has been on SNL for a long time.
My talents are limited. I will never give up this job.
No, he's the only funny. He's been the only funny one for the entire time he's been on there.
He's not visibly addicted to any drugs, so he's doing well for himself.
Visibly, except for weed. Who knows? Who knows? I don't want to speculate about Keenan. We love Keenan. We are now a Keenan Thompson podcast.
What? God, okay. Now, okay, sure. We always were, though.
Well, he was in the Fat Albert movie. Speaking of,
you're trying to cancel him for that?
I don't think we can cancel Keenan for being in the Fat Albert. See, that's who cancellation insurance is for. If Keenan Thompson got residue cancellation for being in the Fat Albert movie, he gets to recoup on some of that. If any major star or any major creative force in something that you're helming is canceled, and you experience flack because of that, cancellation insurance.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting developing a claims department, because our claim process for when they file a claim, we're going to have to do a lot of like social media scrubbing. We're going to have to do oh man, it's going to be a lot of work. This business idea is a lot of work, Alex.
I think it's worth it.
Starting an insurance company is hard.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
You just got to get a big pile of money and then say, look, I have a big pile of money. If you get lucky enough to get canceled, maybe you can have some of this pile of money.
What?
And
the hardest part is getting the big pile of money.
Then you could sell financial derivatives based on only getting a payout if someone else gets canceled.
There you go. You can take options on canceled figures. You can take bets on who's going to be canceled next.
You get cancel default swaps.
Yes. CDSs.
Yeah.
Fucking. Why is this discourse? Why can't you let it die? Why can't I let it die in my head? No one cares about cancellation discourse.
Do you think you're ever going to get canceled?
I think I have been canceled.
Yeah.
You think? You're not sure?
I don't know. One time I remember getting canceled one time when I drew something objectionable on a chalkboard at a punk venue, and a bunch of anarchists talked me down and made me apologize to the managers of the venue, which in hindsight was probably okay. I mean, if you get canceled and it wasn't anything major. I haven't Louis C.K'd anyone. It's hard to come back from that. Bit harder to come back from that.
Well, I guess to get canceled, you need like a platform of some sort. So in the context of drawing something objectionable on a chalkboard, I guess your platform is the chalkboard.
I was canceled from the chalkboard. Yes.
Yeah. Devastating.
Could no longer use that chalkboard to voice my opinion. It was really, really harmful to my free speech.
Yeah.
Man.
I could cancel you from the podcast for an episode, and then you could say you were canceled.
Steven, can you grant me this wish? Can you cancel me?
Yes.
You're canceled.
Do the cancellation spell right now. Umo yo se mio face. Cancel. We are forming a circle of cancellation around you.
Well, you develop antibodies after you get canceled that last for a period of time.
You're right. It becomes much harder to cancel you after you've been canceled once.
So
Look at Mike Tyson.
I think instead of cancellation insurance, we need to develop a cancellation vaccine.
You're right.
Whoa.
We need to distill pure cancellation.
So I guess you need to like find Louis C.K. and like get some of his cancellation plasma.
Yeah, we need to extract his cancellation residue. We need to hook up a fucking vacuum to his shameful little penis and take out all the cancellation residue.
Oh, man.
Which is it's because it's stored in the balls. Can't go back to Louis. We tried to watch an episode of Louis the other day just out of curiosity, and it's like, you're just talking about your penis and your daughters all the time. This is unwatchable.
At the time, we all thought it was high art, remember?
It was funny because he was talking about his penis and his daughters in the same blush. That's how funny Louis C.K. was. No one was suspicious that all of this daughter penis talk could hide anything nefarious.
Yeah, his poor family.
But little did he know he was living in a libertarian paradise.
Little St. James.
I don't know about you guys. I'm really glad that Aziz Ansari got canceled.
He didn't get canceled.
He sorted. I mean, he got like soft canceled.
Yeah.
He did not get canceled. He was put on notice at best. Society came definitely on par with Aziz Ansari. See, this is an idea that I've had for a podcast where you go back and review canceled media to see if someone's cancellation stuck or not.
I mean, he hasn't done anything since he was put on notice.
Like any movies, he did stand-up specials. It's just stand-up specials where he addressed it poorly. Yeah. He was on the new Parks and Recreation reunion special, so they didn't cancel him from
I feel
that.
like reunions don't count because on reunions you're just sort of you're riding the nostalgia wave too hard for anyone to really.
Did he do another Master of None after his cancellation? Did he do the allegation season?
Master of None.
Master of None. That's racist. Racist.
It's funny.
If he did a full season where the central storyline was him getting canceled, then
That would be funny.
like what?
I've been canceled. He says I raped her. Oh no.
Well, not even like.
Please. And this girl was crazy. She was like, please, you raped me. And I was like, no. I focus tested this, folks. I hate fucking. You're right. I'm glad Aziz. If I would like Aziz to be canceled, but I don't think he was truly canceled. So fuck that guy. Yeah. Who is nebulous? Who is another nebulous cancellation? Who is in the
Kevin
gray
Spacey
zone?
one has gone.
What?
Have you been following that story?
No. Is there more developments in the Kevin Spacey story?
Somehow he got to this guy because it has he's not. Kevin Spacey is no longer, I don't think, facing any charges.
Mm-hmm. Well, the accuser died.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, the accuser died mysteriously, Ed Buck styles. That's why the case got dropped.
No, that was a close one.
The same guy who hit Jeffrey Epstein. Kevin Spacey. Luckily, I was able to act my way into hiring a hitman in order to...
Did you guys see the story of the Bangladeshi billionaire who was decapitated in his apartment recently?
Yes, I almost met him once. I met a guy at a meetup who offered to introduce me to him, and I didn't know who he was talking about, so I never actually met him.
Okay, so a detail came out that the guy who killed him owed him a huge amount of money, but instead of going to the police, the billionaire was like, I'm going to create some payment plan, so you're going to be paying me back for like the rest of your life.
Oh, no.
And so that guy then killed him because he was like, I don't want to be a slave.
So I take your life. I don't know why he has a Russian accent. He's an Indian man with a Russian accent.
He tried to cut him into a bunch of tiny pieces.
That's cool as hell. Sorry, I guess the billionaire is innocent in this situation?
Innocent of trying to take a slave.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got to side with the slave on this one. I think cutting him up with glass was the right thing to do.
I mean, I don't think it was like he was going to be paying him back for the rest of his life. He stole like less than $100,000.
Okay.
I just think it's like a funny example of just like the hubris of like tech industry workers, where they think they could just get away with murder and like chop up the victim and decapitate it.
No one can find me if I do that.
Yeah, that's
Like,
how
they-
Zuckerberg would chop up a guy if Zuckerberg killed a guy.
Like, my understanding is like the guy didn't even like do a good job of like hiding. Like, he used his own credit card to like buy the fucking like bone saw or something that he was going to use to...
It just faded into
Well,
the
he was
crowd.
just using this bone saw on just regular old bones. You know, no billionaire bones, just normal bones.
Yeah. I guess I'm also like kind of getting American Psycho vibes from it. So I guess it is a good thing that the New York tech scene has progressed a lot over the last 40 years from the New York financial scene, where back in the 80s you could kill someone and disembowel them and get away with it. And
Right.
no one would remember your name. You could just impersonate them.
Yeah, you're right. American Psycho is actually nonfiction.
Yeah.
Bret Easton Ellis is a genius journalist. Bret Easton Ellis is a very bad person, probably.
Yeah, he's no longer cool.
Wait, what did Bret Easton Ellis do to make him no longer cool?
He has been canceled.
He has definitely been canceled.
don't
Bret
know
Easton
what
Ellis has for sure.
But he's.
I would say that actually Kanye is nebulously canceled. He's always
yes.
exists in a realm of constant nebulous cancellation.
Let's see.
Kanye is always simultaneously canceled and not canceled at the same time, and lives in his very own special Kanye space. The
2
Kanye
weeks ago,
dimension.
2 weeks ago or so, the professional wrestling industry went on a huge tirade on canceling people. Do you know who's canceled?
Who's canceled?
This wrestler Joey Ryan, who you might also know as the Dick Flip guy.
The Dick Flip guy.
Yeah,
Why is he now called the Dick Flip guy?
because it's like it's one of those things where, like, in retrospect, it's like totally not surprising that he was canceled at all, because his finishing move was he takes your hand and puts it on his dick, and then he just sort of like hulks up and does like "Argh! Argh!" and then he just sort of uses the momentum of you holding onto his dick to flip you over.
Wrestling,
Yeah.
not homoerotic.
Wow. Well, golly.
Not the
And
most intensely homoerotic piece of male
Is that
theater.
what he got canceled for, or did he just say something bad?
No,
he
he
just
didn't
say
get
that-
canceled for that. He got canceled because he sexually assaulted like 14 women.
Okay, that's a good reason to cancel somebody. I'm glad they canceled him.
But it was sort of interesting how like the whole wrestling industry, like a few weeks ago, decided that it's like, okay, we're just gonna like cancel every fucking problematic person in the industry.
Was there a purge?
There was a purge. Some of them were.
Who's left? Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley? Those nerds?
I mean, they're left. The Young Bucks are left because they're just good Christian boys.
Good Christian Burrs.
Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle.
He's no Angle. Kurt Angle was no Angle.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan is not left.
He is out. He's out.
Damn,
Terry
he got
Bollea.
What for? Oh, for the Gawker stuff.
Well, he said the N-word too many times. Can't. In the video, in the Gawker video of him.
Really?
Yeah, he
Oh,
says the N-word a lot. It's nuts if you've never seen it.
Well,
and
thank
don't
gosh
see it
for
because it
being
is.
real.
That's the funny thing about the Gawker thing. Yes, they did sexually assault Hulk Hogan. Absolutely, they did, and that should have been taken off. But the fact that the libel thing could be applied to then gutting the entire company was bad. That was the bad part.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a very nuanced view, Alex.
I'm
Normally-
extremely nuanced.
Yeah, you're so nuanced.
I have legal analysis skills you can't even comprehend.
So multifaceted. It's tingling
Did
my
you
nuts.
know that the prison industrial complex is actually very simple?
What?
It's just slavery.
Hot take
Welcome
alert.
to
Hot take
truth
alert.
time.
What?
It's truth time with Law Baby Alex. It's Law Baby time.
I would totally listen to that podcast. You need like a bunch of like red sirens going on in the background.
Get ready to shit your diapers with the Law Baby. You want to talk about res ipsa loquitur? Well, res ipsa suck my dick. It's the Law Baby. Fuck you. Yeah, that's my internet persona, is the Law Baby.
For YouTube?
That big new YouTube persona.
Yes.
I'm going to be the Jim Cramer of lawyer advice shows.
You need a soundboard for that.
You're right.
Yeah, we need a soundboard. I think you can get a software soundboard.
Okay. We're going to, all right, we promised it's the House of Decline Gold Star. Next episode is,
Hey,
we're
that
going to
can
have
be
a
our
soundboard.
That can be our incentive for the Patreon, for people to like
Yeah,
incentivize them.
you can get a meme of you on the soundboard.
No,
Yeah.
but also if you
Yes.
contribute to our Patreon to help us get a soundboard. So we have to
help us get various audio inputs and
we have
jacks.
to start recording bonus eps. That means twice a week.
Yeah, I know. We got to work hard as podcasters. We live in unair conditioned conditions, giving you this pure vocal mellifluousness just streaming out of our mouths, day in, day out, like a big stream of honey. Oh my God, there's too many bees in my lungs, just ejaculating out this honey. Oh my God. And that's what you'll get twice a week if you subscribe to Patreon.
Patreon.
Oh man, I
God
really nerved my noggle there. Woo,
Your vocal
hey.
noggle? Your
My
vocal
vocal
noggle?
noggle. My vocal noggle
Well,
to go in.
you
all
know, it's
witsy
been
boo.
great, and it's just about that time.
Just back in about that time there. Do you have anything to plug, Steve?
Yeah.
You should go to my website, which has my last name on it.
Okay,
is
that's
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you willing to
If
reveal this
you're
information?
willing to divulge, which is sensitive info.
Sure. Go to steviep.xyz. It's got my what does it have on it? It has my fake news website on it. It has my my bullshit cryptocurrency on it, and it has my fake social media platform on it. And it's hours and hours of fun for the whole family. It's great.
It's going to be great. It's a lot of AI. You've heard of GitHub. This is ClitHub.
Yeah. Feminist-friendly programming.
StevieP.xyz. Thank you, Steve, for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Last words, just want to say.
Nice.
Tex-Mex,
Well, that's it.
Tex-Mex.